This is episode 35 with Aaron Walker.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
Hey, Men of Abundance, it is Monday. We are going to start this week off right with Aaron Walker. We call him Big A. This is an amazing man, and I am so excited to start off the week with Big A. In this conversation, Aaron and I talk about how he got into coaching and how he really had no desire whatsoever to get into coaching. I can't wait until you find out who it was that talked Aaron into getting into coaching in the first place. Aaron and I also talk about the importance that money has on our life today, but keeping it in perspective and why that's more important than the money itself. And if you've ever considered getting into coaching yourself, Aaron has some advice for you. Then, of course, we close it up and Aaron has a gift for you at the end of this conversation. You're definitely going to want to get your hands on that. So, just in case you don't know who Aaron Walker is, let me tell you just a little bit about Big A before he gets into it himself. Aaron doesn't care much about talking about himself, so I'll do that for him. Businessman and life coach, Aaron Walker has inspired many through his leadership, mentorship, and consistent pursuit of excellence. He enjoys helping others and believes experience is a great teacher. And Aaron's got plenty of experience. 36 years of entrepreneurship and marriage have given Aaron a wealth of experience. Aaron continues to reach new heights and broaden his perspective on the terrain by examining his experiences and growing from them. Of course, any great coach needs great coaches and mentors themselves, and Aaron has been coached and mentored by some of the best. For 21 years and counting, Aaron has taken classes from and has been coached personally by his friend, financial guru Dave Ramsey. His spiritual mentors, David Lundreth and Bob Warren, have impacted his spiritual life beyond measure. And the list goes on and on. Aaron, welcome to Men of Abundance.
Hey, Wally. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you having me on.
Man, I'm so excited to have you on here. I love watching your videos and everything that you've done so far. Just such sound advice, and you're really coming from the heart. I just absolutely love seeing that in men that are so just honest with what they're putting out there. Some of it people want to hear, some of the stuff people don't want to hear, but you're putting it out there anyway. Where are you at in the world?
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Hey, we're hanging out in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a native Nashvilleian, 56 years, and I'm not over there on Oahu yet. I'm working my way that way, so pick me out a good place, maybe a vacation spot, but we're calling Nashville home for now.
In Nashville, I have not been to Nashville yet, and I've talked to quite a few people, and I know many people who live there and people actually who retire from the military and go back there because it is a beautiful place. Those that are, grew up in the Fort Campbell area generally reside in Tennessee, and they've told me nothing but great things about it. So I definitely got to get down there, especially considering so many of the people that I talk to. It seems to be a very bustling place for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's one of the leading 3 or 4 entrepreneurial cities in the country right now, one of the fastest growing. We have 80,000 people a year moving to Nashville proper right now. We have the Entrepreneur Center here, which many well-known businesses have been birthed out of there, and it's just an epic center right now for entrepreneurs. So it's a real privilege to live here. It's been fun to watch it grow. The traffic gets a little rough, and you know how that goes. But, hey, you've got to have some trade-offs for some things that are making our city grow, and it's just an awesome place to live. So thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to start out my show, Aaron, the same way that I do my morning, which is with an attitude of gratitude. So what do you have to be grateful for today?
Yeah, I think oftentimes the family is first and foremost. I'm a Christ follower, so my faith is very important to me. But I think about my wife being my biggest encourager. She's my biggest advocate. We've been together now 36 years. She's helped me grow the businesses from the very beginning. And so I would have to say, first and foremost, I'm most grateful for my wife, Robin, today.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I definitely have to give thanks to those around us, and especially our spouses. Mine's been around for 25 years, coming on 25 years, and it's a miracle that she's stuck around that long with my career in the past. So, I spoke a little bit about you before we got started and talked a little bit about what you're doing and briefly gave a very short bio, but I would like to hear directly from you, and let's get a little bit personal. What are you up to? What have you been doing, and how did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Wally. I'll give you just a little context of my story. I don't want to make the interview about me. I want to be able to help persons take something from what I'm going to say and influence their personal lives. But I'll go back just for a second, give you a little context. I came from a very, very humble background. When I say humble, I'm talking poor. I'm very poor. And when I turned 18, I met a couple of guys that had plenty of money. We formed a partnership. We started a business. It was very successful. Robin and I got married 2 weeks out of high school. We started working in the business, growing it, delaying gratifications, pouring all the money back into the business. And we had it paid for by the time I was 21 years old. And we repeated that, Wally, 4 times. When I was 27, we had 4 businesses. Fortune 500 company came knocking on the door, a Fortune 500 company. They're based in Fort Worth, Texas. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and boom, I'm done at 27. I thought, this is the American dream. This is so cool. Here's what I discovered out of that process, though. I was very bored. After about 18 months, I was getting in the bed in the middle of the day. Robin woke me up one day from a nap, and she said, hey, you're getting fat and lazy. It's time for you to go back to work. I gained 50 pounds in 18 months, and I discovered I didn't have any meaning. There was no purpose in my life. So I went back, started a partnership with the guy that I was working for when I was a teenager. We grew that business 4 times the size it was. And then, Wally, my life changed forever. August 1st, 2001, and I want to take you there just for a second. I was headed to the office. I'm 40 years old. Things are good. Life is good. Business is awesome. Couldn't get any better. And a pedestrian was crossing the street, didn't look my way, and I ran over and killed a pedestrian. 7:30 on a Wednesday morning, and my life came to a screeching halt. You talk about a gut punch, I know, on your show, and that was mine. Everything slowed down to like a crawl. I don't know if you've ever been in a real serious situation. I know you're a military guy, so I'm sure you've been confronted with the things I'm talking about, but it was like watching a movie. It was like, hey, this is somebody else's life, not mine. Well, the reality of it was my life, and the guy lived 3 days in the Vanderbilt Trauma Unit here in Nashville, and it rocked my world, man. I mean, everything stopped that day, and I decided to retire for the second time, and I did, sold the business. We took the next 5 years off. I didn't do anything. We built another house. We traveled extensively. I tried to get my legs back under me, and it happened again. Robin woke me up from a nap one day. She said, you're getting fat and lazy again. It's time to get back to work. So we did. We went in the construction business, built a very successful construction company over the next 9 years. We became number 1 in Middle Tennessee 3 consecutive years. I turned 50 6 years ago, and I retired for good, I thought. A couple of my buddies that I'm in a mastermind group with now for a couple of decades is Dan Miller, 48 Days to the Work You Love, Dave Ramsey, the Ramsey Group here in Nashville. We've been together since 1995. Ken Abraham and some other guys you may or may not recognize. They said, you got to coach. And I said, I'm not coaching anybody. I'm done. And they said, no, you got to coach. You've got too many life experiences. You've owned a dozen businesses. You've been married 30 plus years. So I started coaching, and now I help ordinary men become extraordinary. And we do that each and every day through mastermind groups, one-on-one coaching. We have our community. And while I am having more fun today, man, I've ever had in my life, coaching other guys to be successful and significant.
I can tell too. I can absolutely tell your messages on the fairway every morning are just amazing, and I just love seeing that, how much fun you're having. So, and I got to tell you, being from the other side, I have a nephew that was struck by a vehicle, and he just walked right out in front of the car, and it was a drastic event. This happened a couple of years ago. And my brother called me, and I'm out here in Hawaii. He's in Phoenix, Arizona. And one of our primary concerns was the lady that hit him. And seriously, I mean, we really wanted to make sure that she fully understood that it wasn't her fault. We had no hard feelings. It was just a very difficult situation from our end, and we just couldn't imagine what it was from her end, being there in that situation. So I definitely have some feelings in that regard as well. So
that exactly happened the way you're describing it for me as well. The people I was told not to contact them, but how in the world do you get involved in something like that, not contact the family? I did, and they felt sorry for me. They said, hey, he was warned a number of times he couldn't see well, and we know it's not your fault. And there was never anything legal or anything over it, and I paid my condolences. And he was 77 years old. He was from the Philippines. I understand he was a great guy, and it took a lot of counseling effort and energy to get through that, but God's grace is sufficient, and he covered it, and he gave me that grace, and I was able to learn to deal with it and move on.
Beautiful. So what is it that finally made you decide to go ahead and start coaching?
I didn't want to do this. I was like, I'm done. Dave Ramsey asked me, he goes, so what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to fish and hunt and play golf. And he said, that's not worked out well for you twice before, and you're not going to do it again. He said, you're too energetic. You've got too many things to do. And he invited me to do the EntreLeadership Mastery program. And I went and did it. Fell in love with it, Wally. It was awesome. And then Dan Miller invited me to come and do Innovate. And that was awesome as well. And I thought maybe there's something to this coaching. And I was headed home, Dave and Dan and I, we all live here in the same city. And I was headed home, and I got a text from Dan Miller, and he said, man, you have got to coach. Those people were leaning in. They were listening to your stories. You've got something to say. All these businesses, your marriage, and you need to coach. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'll give it a try. Well, man, I got on some podcasts, and our business kind of blew up, and it was just amazing at the people that came to me and said, hey, we want you to coach us. We like your approach, because we help people understand it's in its entirety. It's a wholeness. It's not just business or separating your life. It's hard to separate those things. It's all encompassing. And so I help people identify what they want to do, help them make money, but at the same time not to do it at the expense of their family. And we coach men. That's my niche market, because I've been involved in men's groups, accountability groups, mastermind groups for 30 plus years. So I understand what makes men tick, right? And so I decided to niche down and coach men, and it has absolutely been life transforming for me as well as the clients. And we help people grow their business to many times the size that it is. But my ticket, though, Wally, is helping people focus outward and not inward. And when we learn to do that, it's a mindset shift. When we learn to do that, you're not only more significant, but you're more successful financially as well. So it's been a really fun process.
And that's paramount, and that's just another reason why I wanted to have you on Men of Abundance, because that is exactly what Men of Abundance is all about. So many people, I chased success for many, many years. And I'm 48, so, most of my adult life I've been chasing success in one form or another. And then I just realized about a year or so ago, maybe longer, I'm living a dream. I'm living a life of abundance. I live in a place that most people have always dreamed of coming to. And I have a beautiful family. I have healthy kids. One's in the military now. And I said, I just got to be happy with who I am today and where I'm at today, and realize that where I'm at today is because of what I've done in the past. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I made that decision, as soon as I made that mind shift, so much more opened up to me. I was able to connect with people like yourself and so many other influencers and other people that were making a huge impact in the world. And I said, my goodness, this has been here the whole time. I just was chasing the wrong thing, and I was looking inward instead of outward.
Wally, let me make something clear for the listeners out there. There's not one thing wrong with being successful financially. Matter of fact, I can't stand it when I hear people with money say money's not important. I want to go, you liar. It is important. Let's take it away from you, and let's see how important it is. But don't make it your central focus. Don't make it God. Don't worship the money. We need to learn to work to live, not live to work. And it's a tool, right, by which we use to live our life. So be highly successful financially. Just don't do it at the expense of your wife and your children and all your relationships.
I completely agree. Absolutely. So what are some good news stories out there? I know you've touched many men's lives and many families, and I'm a strong believer that if you not really fix a man, but you change a man's mindset, you help their family, and you help the family, you help the community, and so on and so forth. I know you've got a lot of good news stories. Can you share one with us?
Sure. Yeah, there's a young guy that I've worked with out in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a couple of years now. And when we first started talking, he was 30 years old at the time, and his mindset was exactly, Wally, what you and I have been talking about. It was success, getting something bigger. Nothing wrong with any of those things. So I don't want to downplay and make you think you got to sell everything and give it to the homeless. I'm not suggesting that at all. This guy has transformed his life in many areas. First of all, he's learning to be content but not be complacent. And he's tripled his business. He had a great business. He was doing a couple $1 million a year 2 years ago. Now he'll probably do $6 million this year. And it's by focusing. I'll tell you a quick story. This is fun. So when he hired me, I flew out to Tulsa, looked at his business, and I said, "Is this what you're doing every day?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Man, you're in the wrong seat. You can't do the estimating. You're a salesperson. You need to get out in the field, and you need to sell." And he said, "Well, I've really not done that." I said, "Well, I know. That's why you hired me." I said, "Here's what I want you to do. Read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. When you get through with it, give me a call." I flew back to Nashville. He read the book. He goes, "That was a great book." I said, "Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to the restaurant 3 days a week, have lunch with somebody. I want you to get involved in their life personally. You cannot ask them for business." He said, "You're crazy." I said, "Just do what I'm telling you. If it doesn't work, we'll stop doing it." A couple of weeks later, he called me up and he said, "I did exactly what you said. Went out to lunch with a client that I haven't seen in 5 years. Just got caught up, talked about his family, talked about his business, talked about everything." I said, "Did you ask him for business?" He said, "No, I didn't." He said, "But as we walked to the car, he said, 'Hey, by the way, I'm thinking about building a lake on my farm. Would you come out and take a look at it?'" He gave him the job, $125,000. 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, he calls me again and he said, "Man, this is incredible." He said, "Same story. Hadn't done any work for this guy in about 3 years, invited him to lunch. We did, got caught up, talked about his family, talked about him. He loves to hunt and fish, talked about that." Same way. He said, before we left, he gave me a subdivision to do, $300,000 project. About a month later went by. We're coaching every week. He calls me and he goes, "I can't do all the work." Well, I start laughing. I said, "Well, now it's time to hire more people, buy more equipment. We're going to grow your business." We've repeated that process now for over 2 years, tripled his business. He's paid his home off. Instead of mortgaging, getting a bigger house, he's paid off the house he bought, found a great deal, sold it, bought the other house. He's got the cash to pay for it, paid his business off, right? Kid's 33 years old, young man. He's not a kid, 33 years old. He's a kid to me. He's not as old as my kids. But anyway, now he's 33 years old. He's got a paid-for business, paid-for home, 12 employees. And he works less now than he did because he's got the right people in place doing the right things. It's just perspective, right? Coaches have perspective because we're non-biased, right? We're trusted advisors. We have a different lens to look at it through because you're emotional, right? You look at it through an emotional lens, and we don't. We look through it with a lens, to make an intelligent decision intellectually. And it's just easier to help people see things when you're standing from afar looking rather than when you're so close. So, man, I could go on, Wally, for hours telling you success stories, not only financially, but we have guys that have made plenty money, but their lives were kind of in shambles. We've had guys that were addicted to a number of different things. We've had people that were addicted to alcohol, pornography. They weren't good husbands. They weren't good dads. And I'm helping teach them see what the value of the relationship is. And there's just countless success stories as a result of that.
Yeah, you're truly doing amazing things, and I absolutely love that. What would you say to the guy out there who was in your position several years ago and has all this information, kind of wanting to share this information, is considering going into coaching people, even if it's just to help them out, help guys in their community? What would you say to any of them that are considering that?
Yeah, I love coaches. There's plenty of room to be a mentor or a mentee. There's plenty of opportunities. There's some people that are very specific in nature. Like I hire social media coaches. I've hired a LinkedIn coach, a Twitter coach. I've hired coaches that have helped me understand mentally why I do what we do. Dr. David Kruger, who's head of Baylor University, medical for about 25 years, and I hired him to explain to me why I do what I do, and he worked with me for about 6 months and helped me understand the reason I do things. I hired a writing coach. There's coaches for specific things, and then there's life coaches like I do. There's business coaches, and I do that as well. I help people grow their businesses. I think that what it does is it takes you there quicker. Not that you couldn't figure it out on your own, it just accelerates the process. So I would say, yes, if you're interested in coaching, by all means, if you have a skill, you're gifted, you can't just go read a book and say, I'm going to be a coach. You know, you need to have kind of done something in regards to what it is that you're trying to teach. And I would say absolutely go for it. There's nothing more enjoyable than to help somebody else achieve their goals and dreams.
Yeah, I truly agree with that. And I've often heard the saying that, you only know a subject to the point where you're able to teach somebody else that particular subject. As you mentioned, a mentor and a coach. What would you say is the difference between the two? Yeah,
a coach normally helps you with specific things, and a mentor helps you in a very diverse reference or framework of life. And so coaches normally take people that have an idea of where they want to go, and mentors can help you in many arenas.
We talk quite a bit about coaches on the show, and that's why I asked you those specific questions, because many men that I talk to, and I've talked to some on this show who are entrepreneurs and they want to get a business started, but they're not in a mastermind, they're not hiring coaches, they're not seeking mentors, and I'm just like, you're really kind of spinning your wheels when, I forget who said it, but goodness, and I got to make sure I get it right.
Jim Rohn, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with?
Definitely that, without a doubt. But it basically has to do with, I can't even think of what it was. I'll think of it in just a minute right now, so we'll just move on. So, Aaron, we're getting ready to pay it forward. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So give Men of Abundance 1 to 3 actionable steps that they can take today.
Yeah. One of the things that I would do first and foremost, and people ask me this question a lot, what is the number one key to success? And without hesitation, it's building relationships. And your net worth is directly tied to your network. And I would enlist everyone listening to this to spend 20-25% of your waking hours developing relationships. That's action step number 1. The second thing I would do is think outside the box. And we answer emails with videos. We'll send out video instructions. We'll send out video invites. We'll send out video congratulations. There's something magical about using video. The third thing I would do, nothing replaces handwritten cards. You can thank Wally right now of all the people in the past 6 months that have written you a handwritten card. It makes an indelible impression. Build relationships, use video, and handwritten cards.
Beautiful. What daily habits make the biggest impact in your life?
My morning routine. Years and years, decades of a morning routine. I get up really early, between 4 and 5 every day. I spend the first hour and a half to 2 hours in meditation, prayer, in scripture reading. I start my day out every day like that. I normally sit on my patio. It's dark when I go out there, and I watch the sun come up, and that gets me centered for the day, and it doesn't start my day in a mad rush. I'm able to focus on what I want to accomplish for that day, and then I just have to execute. Morning routine without a question.
That is got to be the most common answer that I've heard on this show and any other. Now the routine is different, but everybody that I've talked to that is living a life of abundance has a routine of some sort.
Yeah, like without a question. I mean, if you get up and the first thing you do is check your emails and you run out the door and you're grabbing this and that, how can you be focused? And so you need to get up, get focused, understand what you're going to do for the day, and then execute.
Excellent. What book would you recommend to Men of Abundance, and why?
Yeah, there's a couple of books that I would recommend. Can I give a couple? Is that okay, Wally?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, Essentialism, Greg McKeown, really got a great book. He helps us understand why we need to be an inch wide and a mile deep. Most people are an inch deep and a mile wide. They're trying to do 15 things. Greg does a really good job with getting you focused on a niche market. That is an awesome read. My book, View from the Top, comes out in the spring, so keep an eye out for it. Go to my website, View from the Top, and there's dozens of recommendations for books that you should read.
Excellent. And I'll have those books listed in the show notes along with any other links in the show notes at menofabundance.com/035. And that's complete with timestamps so that you can click on that timestamp and go directly to a point of interest that you want to go directly to and listen to. Great technology. I love having that on there. So the last question that I have for you is, what does living a life of abundance mean to you? I'm really looking forward to hearing your answer on that one.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, I talk a lot about having success and significance in your life. You've got to determine what success is for you first and foremost. And for me, it was being able to determine my own schedule. I love having a little bit of financial stability. I like not having to worry about the electric bill. So I think from a success standpoint, we need to do that. Having engaging relationships, having a wonderful family that you can surround yourself with, is hugely successful as far as I'm concerned. But the bigger part is the significance, doing things for other people, even when it's not convenient for you. And so having a life of abundance for me is being able to balance the two, having great success financially, all the while having significance to where your life was better as a result of having known me, rather than focusing all your attention and efforts on tangible possessions. If you can accomplish those two things, you will have lived a life of abundance.
Completely agree. I love that answer. Thank you very much for that. Well, before I let you go, I would love for you to share us. You've already shared so much with us. It's amazing. I love having you on the show and sharing all this information with Men of Abundance. But before you go, please leave us with a parting piece of guidance and any way we can get in touch with you other than your website and your book, or if that's it, then that's absolutely perfect.
Hey, thanks a lot, Wally. I appreciate that. I brought a little gift for your listeners. If you'll go to viewfromthetop.com/abundance, all in lowercase letters, there's 3 documents that you can get there: a personal assessment, what do I want, and steps to a productive day. And it will help you accomplish living that successful and significant life. The parting piece of advice is 2 things. When I was a child growing up, my mom would never allow me to say the word can't. She'd say, you might not be able to do it, but you're going to try. And she had a little slogan which I've adopted as my lifelong mantra, and that's can't, couldn't do it, and could did it all. Also, in that, the biggest hindrance that we all have from success is fear of failure. And I tell people to fear missing an opportunity more than they fear failure. And if you'll develop a strategy of can't, couldn't do it, and could did it all, and I'm afraid that I'm going to miss an opportunity more than I fear failure, you'll be hugely successful and significant.
Very awesome. Thank you very much for that. It drives home and completely resonates with everything that we've been talking about at Men of Abundance. I truly appreciate your time, and I look forward to getting a hold of your book as soon as it comes out. If you got a waiting list, I'm going to be on it. And at the same time, if you have any, if you plan on doing any marketing for it or any, want to talk about it, I want you to come back on the show so we can talk about it.
Thanks, Wally. I'm going to take you up on that, buddy. When we do the launch, I'm going to certainly do that. We have a community that I would love for your audience to get involved in. They can go to viewfromthetop.com and they can learn all about it. I facilitate 7 masterminds weekly, and we have a community to where we talk about exactly what we've just talked about for 30 minutes each and every day. So if you're interested, man, go to my site, viewfromthetop.com, and let's connect. Thanks a lot, Wally. Appreciate you having me on. We'll see you, buddy.
All right, brother. Take care.
See ya.
Well, Abundant Leaders, I certainly hope you got as much out of that conversation as I did. And, of course, I strongly encourage you to take advantage of those generous gifts that Aaron has provided for us over at viewfromthetop.com/abundance. And that link will be in the show notes at menofabundance.com/035. So make sure you go there, click on that link, and take advantage of those gifts. I truly appreciate that, Aaron. And of course, if this has been beneficial to you and you're still listening, make sure you share this with others. They definitely want to get a hold of this information as well, and they will greatly appreciate you sharing this with them. Now go out and live your life of abundance, and make sure you pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.